of the Elements Expectations Day 1, or actually Weekend 1. Don't make 30% of you guys know the drill. Smash the crap out of the subscribe button so you can see some more of me rambling on. So I want to talk about Power of the Elements here. Kind of, how the set's, I guess, faring on setting up for the weekend here. Metagame implications. If you're one of the people that opened a case and you're like, where are my field spells? Why did I only pull one Sprite Blue? Do you know how many cases that I've seen right now? This is not like a generalized, it's pretty generalized. I've seen some cases that have had like huge like clumping issues. Oh man, it's a ride out here. So if you're somebody that's been touching this set, picking up what you want to have, good and bad news, ladies and gentlemen. Clumping is a real pain in the butt. So if you opened a case, you're thinking, we'll get 3 of everything. Nah, there have been some people out here that have just been punished massively. Just ended up with like 1 Tier Elements field spell, like 1 Sprite Blue, but like 30 Ultimate Slayers. That's a little bit of an abbreviation or exaggeration for how much spell for that. But you get the point. You're getting so many like different things. So there's also cases of like 2 Starlights, cases with no Starlights. Oh man, it's a ride. But how is clumping and things affecting all of the market? Well, from what we saw very early on, and what a lot of people are talking about here, a lot of people are like, "Oh my God, Sprite Blue is going to be $100 after the weekend," and they're like, "Oh my God, when Sprite tops all of Euros in a couple weeks here, like huge representation, you're not going to be able to buy those Sprite Blues for under $100." Meanwhile, other players are like, Sprite's kind of bad. Like, I love the duality of this format right now, because until we see the results roll out of this weekend, you have half of the format that's like, oh my God, Sprite is so good. And, obviously, like, the more veteran players that, like, have played a little bit more have been being like, deck is a little bit fair. So, do with that info what you will. But once again, I'm just saying that I'm hearing the duality of the metagame. Like, I haven't really heard a middle ground. It's like, yeah, the deck's good, but, like, it loses to certain things. It's just, like, it's either good or it's, like, easy to beat. It's almost like Dark Ruler No More exists within the format. That's, like, one other big thing I want to emphasize here. When you're like stepping into this format here, besides, the constant reeing of people looking at Dimension Shifter going, get this card out of the format right now. I still think that people screeching at the top of their lungs to get rid of a card that wasn't really much of a problem. It might create an unfavorable game state, but like, you think having these entire graveyard-based decks existing within the format that ought to lose to a 3 of in a deck, by auto lose, they lose a whole turn. Yeah, that's kind of Yu-Gi-Oh! In a nutshell. Looks at Mystic Mine intensely. Wow, you lost to a 3 of that a player could randomly draw. Interesting take. But nonetheless, when you look at like the development of this format on the metagame, yeah, this set did force one of the biggest metagame shifts. Okay, so be honest here. You look at this set and you're like, okay, so it brings 3 decks to the table, or makes 2 decks possible, makes 1 deck better. And then, you got like Rika sitting in the corner. What am I supposed to say about Rika, ladies and gentlemen? Like, we looked at Rika last week here. We saw that, yeah, it's Lily Lair of Darkness 2.0. It's a deck that's sitting here at the dinner table along with like the Sylph Fairies, for the Earthbox deck. But a lot of people are they're looking at the stuff and they're like, it's so overshadowed by the dominating forces that it's just that. And also, did you know that people are just crapping on... This is hilarious. People are looking at Ultimate Slayer right now and they're going, the card is awful. Like, why would I want to play this trash? Now, once again, Ultimate Slayer is not for every single deck. I think that's the thing that, like, when you look at this community, you can tell who have the bad opinions here. But a card that says, your opponent cannot activate monster effects in response to this card's activation. So it's Forbidden Droplet, and it's Dark Ruler No More. On a specific 1-for-1, maybe, maybe there's a purpose for that line of text. Maybe, printing more cards like that is really good. And then, much like our friend here, if you're playing a Nidtis or, if you're playing, the big Link 4 Evil Twin, you get the additional answer for it. So we got a very good tech choice here. But out of expected regional weekend 1 here, If what I'm hearing from the general like player base is to be true, like I said, they're very, very split between our dear friend Sprite being an amazingly powerful deck. I think everybody that manages to get the deck weekend one here will probably have some sort of success with it. You got to remember, like, a lot of the greater player base just does not take time to prepare for these sorts of things. You know, while we have 100,000 subs here, I hate to tell you this, but maybe only 20-30% of the regional goers might actually even have heard of me or watched my content. All right, which means that there's going to be a lot of people in that room that are going to be very ignorant to what is going on in the established format, which means that something like Sprite's going to come around. You're going to hear a lot of people that are going to be massively upsetty spaghetti when they play against Sprite for the first time and they think it's the best tier 0 deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! All right, like, the fear of the unknown is one of the craziest things in the modern era of Yu-Gi-Oh! And I never really get it, but it all comes down to unpreparedness. Like, players just literally crap their pants at, like, the craziest thing, even though Dark World No More, Ultimate Slayer, you know, to a lesser extent Droplet. I mean, it depends on, can I afford, you know, the discard of the resource in order to capitalize on this. But once again, go down your checklist and pick, which brings me to my next point here. Exo Sister. Exo Sister is now a functioning deck. Oh boy. Now, I have been on record for this week saying that I think Exo Sister's, I guess, place in the meta will determine where the rest of the meta goes around it. It's kind of hard to like grasp that concept, because I think when you have decks in the format that won't touch their graveyard, or that just don't care about it, you know, something like Flunder, for example, who remains at full power here. Obviously, something like Tenyi, Sword Soul can interact with it, Despia can interact with it, but it's going to depend on how much Punk is going to run around in the format. I also said that I think Punk is a little bit better than, you know, Sprite and Tier, and I've been condemned so much this week for that. People are like, there's no way. Honestly, I think it's very much if you have the deck in the hands of the right player, Punk will surpass the expectations of the other two. But once again, it's going to be in the same window as Dragon Link. All right, your average Joe is going to suck with Dragon Link. Your, you know, amazing Chad Dragon Link player can curve out the weakness of these. These decks require specific niches and players to curve out. So I guess you could say the same thing about any deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! But you can definitely tell when you're watching a good player play the deck, it gets really, really solid. So I think the resources and things that are brought to the table for those two particular decks right now, Dragon Link and that, they can curve out a lot of the stuff. So I think Exo Sister will very much determine its placement in the format. That's why I put it at number 6, because it's really going to depend on the rest of the tier 1 hemisphere, what goes into it. Because Exo Sister loses to the randomness of rogue decks, man. Like, you would think if the deck has like massive arsenals and things to handle, like some of the leftist craziest things, it struggles at some random things, man. Like, it is very, very interesting to see the random things that can happen to Exo Sister. So, outside of that, I still think this weekend will be your optimal time to want to pick up things from the market. I'm already seeing certain things rebound, certain things cry. The market does what the market does best. If you're playing a regional this weekend, I think you are going to be seeing a lot of interesting things happen. You know, in a format that just is born such as this, you're going to see a lot of players testing out, you know, ratios, trying to get things down correctly. Like, that's the best thing about, like, week 1, week 2 regionals is not everybody and their mother has everything yet. You know, you're going to see players very much, you know, scurrying to get things, and you might end up running in and seeing something crazy happen. Like, you might see Rika top a regional this weekend, just once again because people are so prepared maybe for the other huge decks in the room that they're just looking at this going, oh, you know, like, where'd that come from? You know, I didn't expect to, you know, see that today. And that's why, like, Evil Twin Sprite might end up being, like, the dominant variant week 1 here, because people take what they know. It's literally, oh, I know this. Oh, new cards. Slap them together. Oh, I just won a regional. I bet somebody didn't see that coming. Yu-Gi-Oh! You love to see it, guys. Please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. Make sure you guys smash the crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. And remember, Garuda is the best new Super Poly target of the year. Peace out, guys. Patrons, thank you. ya!
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.